Yo, what's going on, Vision fans? ReadyPlayerWill here, back with another character review. Tonight we're doing Garvall, character just released yesterday to Global. Interesting character overall. I think he's got a really powerful kit, and I do think he has some downsides that you really need to know about, which I'm going to be talking about here, that really going to critically change the way the character operates, at least in terms of what you should expect. First things first, though, I have some exciting news I wanted to share. So, you may have seen my previous video was a little bit about myself, my vision cards, my units, my guilds, this and that, and I had mentioned that my guild was currently ranked the number 10 in all of Global. Well, the day before yesterday, we reached a new high. We are ranked number 8 in all of Global, and something kind of fun I just had to share. As of right now, literally tonight, after only one battle, the Limited Guild Wars Chocobo Force, my guild is ranked number 1 in all of Global. So I thought that was pretty freaking awesome. I'm pretty pumped. I had to share that with you. But that's not what you came here for. You came for a Garvall review. Getting into it, he's a Dark Element user, and they created the new Energist job for him. He also has the Kotodama Wielder sub job, which was unique to Sakura, and it's really similar to the Staff Mage job overall. And then Red Mage job that's there. For me, really just for statistical purposes, maybe some passives, but you're really not going to be using that in terms of active abilities for much of anything. They did create a glove weapon for him, and he can equip the hat, cloth, and accessory. Move of 3, jump of 1, so pretty standard in that respect. But let's look at the rest of the status resistances here. I think this is one of the first things that I really liked about him, is that overall he's got strength to 2 of the more potent attack types, missile and pierce. You should be scared of them, so having innate resistance is nice. The 10% weakness to strike doesn't really worry me, because strike just isn't all that strong right now, and I don't really foresee it becoming that strong, at least in a way that you wouldn't be afraid to put him in front of them. The magic one is actually not that bad either, because he has some passives where he can essentially negate this resistance altogether, and it's honestly easy enough between espers and equipment and stuff that he can reliably kind of mitigate this magic weakness. So 10% weakness to light overall as well, that's nothing surprising, and then 50% resistance to stop and disable, so that's pretty great. Only 10% disable, I'm sorry, 50% charm. Anyways, I'm getting excited because I really wanted to talk about the stat part of this, because to me this is not immediately apparent when you look at this character. So from an evasion standpoint, not an evade unit. Let's get that out of the way. He is below average luck overall. The average is 193. He's kicking it at 183. That's also going to, affect his accuracy, which we'll see in a second as well. In terms of total agility, though, something super interesting here. He has a passive ability. I can't imagine that you would never, I can't imagine a situation where you wouldn't have it on. It buffs his agility, his dexterity, and his magic. You'll see why that's important. So his total agility is either 58 or 74, depending if you have that passive on. That passive only lasts for 5 turns, but it's potent as hell. So, that being said, he's a little bit above average just by himself, but when you give him that passive, he becomes the fastest innate character in the game. Super awesome. Move on to the more important part here, the accuracy. So, we already know that luck stat is slightly below average, that 10 points, but his dexterity, oh my goodness, trash. It's so bad. It's so bad how woefully horrible his dexterity is, which means it's going to vastly impact his ability to hit things and his ability to proc some critical hit rates, which reduces his burst damage potential. So that being said, if you have his passive on that we're talking about, it's going to put him at 145, which is only 2%. I mean, I say only, but it's literally still below average. So even with this amazing passive on him, he's still at roughly average overall in terms of accuracy, which isn't good. You won't always want to be above average. But after it wears off, after 5 turns, or if you don't have it equipped at all, he's sitting here at this 129. That puts him in, basically in the bottom 5 least accurate characters. He's there with, Rain and Dwayne. So, huge demerit in that regards of how blind he is, because it means you're going to have to dedicate a fair amount of external resources to bumping up his accuracy. That being said, he does have 2 guaranteed hits in his kit, so I could see a world where you start off that fight with this higher dexterity, use some of your non-guaranteed hits, and as as it fades and your accuracy goes to shit, you start using some of those guaranteed hit abilities later on in the battle. So it's not a complete loss, but something definitely worth knowing about. In terms of magic potential as well, so if you have that Hyper Vitality passive on, he's going to be at this total of 619. That's assuming you also pair it with Magic Level Up, if we're maxing potential magic stats. I have Sakura and Kilfear as kind of benchmarks to get a general idea. If you have these two on Garvall, he's going to vastly, like, out of the gate, overpower what they do in terms of magic potency. But even when this fades, he's still going to be relatively competitive, at least with, like, the strength of Sakura, who already smacks pretty hard. So really, really potent magic user. Just wanted to give that context. And little what it's worth, innate defense of 6. Cool. General observations, though, because I want to talk about this to kind of shape the discussion. He can be built to hedge weapon resistances pretty easily, as we already talked about, which means the meta types, the slash, the magic. I think he can do a great job, you know, gearing for any resistance without being worried or afraid of seeing those characters. I think that's number one. Number two, he can tackle both physical and magical enemies. So he does have a physical barrier in the kit. He's got a magical dodge counter ability. He's, you know, he can do a few things in terms of equipment where I wouldn't be afraid of either type of magic attack, particularly because he's going to be more powerful than magical enemies. So, you know, usually there's a duel that goes on there. Anyways, the Kotodama subjob offers a wide array of AI options. That's the biggest takeaway I took from Sakura, is that the Kotodama job, like, there's like 5 or 6 abilities, and they're all pretty awesome, but you can't use 5 or 6 abilities at once. So it's really which 2 do you pick, or even 1, to really determine, is it going to be more movement based, is it going to be more offensive based, like, changes everything. We'll get to that in a second. And then hugely reliant on the guaranteed hit attacks. And I say that again because as the fight goes on, he's just going to be woefully inaccurate unless you do something to absolutely buff him up in that regard. In terms of the class and job overview. So, passive abilities, this Hyper Vitality is what I was talking about. Absolutely cracked. For the first 5 turns for self, increase agility 30%, magic by 60%, dexterity by 60%. Fucking crazy. I can't imagine you not having this on. Next, I've already talked about that enough. You really have your pick of what you want to do after that. So whether you try to max his magic damage by putting one of these 2 next passives on, whether you want to go more in the way of the magic resistance by boosting the SPR like this by 12, which also negates his light weakness, which totally viable build. But he also has Mage's Protection, which is going to put him at +5 positive magic resistance. So like I'm saying, I'm not that afraid of the magic overall because he has some pretty easy ways to hedge against it. So great selection of passive abilities here, whether you want to just max them for magic or do some more in the way of mitigating magic damage. In terms of the counter abilities, again, a wide array of options here. So hyper reactivity is basically an evade for physical damage. The magic reflex is an evade for magic damage, so you can pick depending on what comp you're going against. And then this middle one, Steel the Thermal Form, it's basically the hybrid. It's a reduction of all damage taken by 30%. So that's why I like him, because you can really gear him to whatever comp you're facing against. He's not stuck targeting only one type of person. The other thing I wanted to mention, super unique, is the basic attack. Most mages, their basic attack is actually strike damage. His is not. It's actually missile damage. Really unique in that regard. So when he does, you know, regular basic attack, it's going to be a missile type, and he actually has a couple other missile types in his kit. So Chi Shot, basic attack here, is a missile type. It's got amazing range, 12 AP, but again, all of these non 100% hit chance abilities, you're going to have to really be careful about how he uses them, because he's probably going to miss most of them just in the general, you know, stage of high end or competitive PvP, and I mean the arena and the guild wars. Even if you're not, you know, the tops of the tops, people still, you know, gear for evade and whatnot as much as they can. So really important to keep competitive. In terms of movement, Pulse is a new interesting ability. I like that it's you can move to target panel with the debuff resist, but I'd be worried that this is kind of a kamikaze attack for him. Anyways, Twin Chi Rupture, huge modifier here, 245%, absolutely incredible ability. I could see an instance where you might use this early on in the fight, and then as your accuracy, you know, depletes later on, then you start using some more of the guaranteed hits. Chi Barrier is what I was talking about, reduction of physical damage. I love that this is on the main job, where you don't have to, you know, suffer by having it on the sub job and forced to use it. And then Detonation Blast, absolutely awesome ability for an AoE at 34 AP. That is a 100% hit chance at 165%, which is a decently strong attack overall. It's an average strength, but still good, considering it's an AoE in particular. In terms of the sub job, not bad. Chi Shot Flurry is nice in that it's a double strike attack, but again, it has the same idea that it's a missile attack. Potency could be, it's not bad, to be honest, considering it's a double hit. Great range, but you just have to make sure you can hit it. And this Rejuvenation is not bad, just sleep. It's really niche. You don't use it that often, so, you know. Anyways, the idea is if you put Energist Sub-Jump on, you're not really maximizing what he can do. The Kodama Wielder, though, this is the one that gets fucking crazy, because you can, we saw with the Pulse ability, that's one way to increase his movement. The Nimble movement is one way to do it as well, increase move and jump. He also has this Earth-Rending Pain, which is move unit to target panel. So there's a bunch of ways in which he can traverse the battlefield. I do like Nimble movement just because it gives him the jump as well, so... Anyways, Unavailable Pain, we've seen this, that's another guaranteed hit. The Spirit Breaking Pain is a strong hitting attack that also has stuns, so some utility there. And a Heart Like Needles, really great AoE magic attack up with some Spirit Penetration as well. The idea behind this job, from what I've learned, is you can really only pick like one, maybe two abilities from here. Otherwise, you're going to get really unpredictable with what he does with the AI. So like Nimble Movement, he'll usually walk forward, and he'll cast it after he walks forward, and then he'll move even further the turn after. That's one way to make a move. Or if you did something like a Heart Like Needles, turn one, he's likely going to move backward toward his teammates. And, I mean... most likely, but there are some cases where he does the same thing and moves forward and uses it, so some variety there. And honestly, that's the thing you have to juggle. Do you want him using these movement abilities turn one first, or do you want him using the Chi Barrier here, or the TMR ability? So tons to think about. It's one of the things that makes him a potentially inconsistent character really have to game plan for. Anyways, moving on to the Red Mage, nothing to see here. The only good ability on this is the Jamming Thrust because of the range on it, but even then, you need to be hyper accurate to land this on the majority of the cast that you're going to see. I won't spend any more time than I have to on this. The other info, the Limit Burst here, I like it. He can cast it turn one because he is a mage. He does have a fair amount of AP to start. I love that it decreases the SPR. Again, to me, this Limit Burst is best if you max it. To me, a 10% SPR break and 30% Spirit Penetration it's not bad. It's still good. It's just not as good as it could be, and this is a Limit Burst that you definitely might want to look at, because the decreased SPR is one that your teammates are also going to be able to take advantage of. So it's in that regard, it's not a selfish Limit Break. It's one that can benefit the team, so I think it's a good investment overall, potentially. Plus, it is an AoE in a more unique form. In terms of the TMR, this is a good one too. So for an accessory, it's got great stats in terms of HP, defense, critical rate, but I love the magic buff for 40%. Again, that's if you max it. If you don't max it, it's okay, could be better, but the magic buff here is pretty large, considering you also get magic resist penetration 50% for 3 turns. He's gonna hit so fucking hard. Like if you have this TMR ability on and then use the Limit Burst, it's just anybody that's a magic tank is gonna get obliterated. So overall, pretty awesome option. Master ability that's pretty standard for the HP and the dark attack buff, and he's got an increased magic buff for himself. So vision card synergies, this is where things get a little difficult for him. There's no, the special unit effects that are on most of the mage cards don't apply to the Energist class, at least not on the WOTV calc website. I don't know if I can confirm that in game yet, I have to look, but the downside of that means is a lot of these really cool magic cards you've gotten recently, he just doesn't benefit at all from the unit effect. Doesn't mean you can't use it, it's just not optimal or tailored for him. So, going through these quickly, in no particular order, because like Solidus is a great card, obviously magic, good magic stat, increased magic attack, slash resist for the party, super awesome, but pretty standard. I actually like Calum on him, potentially. You're going to nerf his magic stat a bit here, but give him the HP. The slash resist is nice for himself for some survivability, but the increase of dexterity of 35% will significantly help him be more accurate, as well as the rest of your team. So I actually like this card a lot in not all situations, but situations where you intend on using more than just the guaranteed hit abilities, or really overreaching and hitting even with your, whatever stats you give on top, because if you have this card on him, you don't have to worry about accuracy boosting equipment. Trousseau and Ramu, pretty standard for if you're using magic comps. Again, the dark resist is a good thing for him because you're going to see a lot of other dark units prevalently. You don't get the unit effect of Ramu because the you do. The lightning resist, but that's kind of niche. So these cards have their place, but obviously are more beneficial if you're using more magic attackers in your party. The maybe slide I have on here next, Diabolos. I don't know the math behind this yet, but somehow it still makes sense to me. Yes, it's an attack card, so you're going to nerf his magic by a fair amount, but 45% on the dark modifier. If you're going for that build where you're going for those critical, the guaranteed hit abilities, which are lower in the modifiers overall. I think there's a world where if you add 45% onto those modifiers, it does, the breakpoint does make up for the lack of magic you would get by putting a magic stat card on him. I obviously need to do some testing, but to me, this card would really shine is if you have a cast of dark characters. And even if that's the case, you'd probably put this card on someone else, but, you know, if you're running a Kane, you want Demon Wall on Kane, not Diabolos on Kane. I take that back. You have a case for both. Anyways, Blossoms in the Dark also has a great case. I like it because it has some luck on it as well. But this unit effect, the magic attack, and the magic increase, it won't do anything for him. So that's out. But Human Killer of 25% to his attacks will help a lot. Obviously, that's if you're not using the missile attacks on him, using the magic attacks. But Blossoms in the Dark, still a great card overall. And then Black Rose in the Battlefield, same idea. You're not going to get the unit effect, but increased agility of 15 is going to make him speedy as fuck. And it's got a great magic stat. And then 4 SPR, which obviously every little bit helps in terms of sustain through the battle. But moving on to the Esper Synergies, pretty standard overall. The basic magic ones, in my opinion. Diabolos is great. You know, slash resist if you're going for that extra resist on him because he's only at 5% to start. Magic attack up, magic 20%. Shiva's also great, a little speedier, has that pierce resist depending upon what you're going against. Ramuh's also great. This has strike resist on him, so if you're worried about that 10% strike weakness, Ramuh can solve that for you while still giving the magic attack up and some relatively average agility. The Aegeon card, as always, I mentioned this, I love it, just magic resist here, pierce resist, a little bit faster than, you know, than some of the slower ones, but yeah, it has a place. Typhon, I actually am surprised I'm recommending this. The reason why I like Typhon, it's, you know, wind attack up at 25 is the thing that he's really known for, but on his card, he has an increase of accuracy of 15. He's also got magic resist of 7% and increased magic by 20%. So, like, all of those things Garvall needs. He needs the accuracy. The 7% magic resist is essentially going to almost wipe out his 10% weakness just by itself. And the magic 20% buff obviously is going to help him as well, while still having a stacked magic attack here at 91. You see it's tied for the tops, and having a 14 agility on the card, which is, you know, par for the course. So I actually love Typhon a lot. To be honest, I actually think this should be the first column here. I think I fucked up putting it last. It's one of the first ones I resonated with him. Special mention, Mind Flayer is a great one as well. The Human Killer, magic attack, magic percent increase, all great things. Equipment optimization, it's really just the Dark Gloves. To me, the aim build is a necessity on these. I don't think the crit build does you any good, just because I don't know. I'm a fan for accuracy. To me, critical you really want on people who already have the accuracy. So people like the gunners, the missile users who have a ton of accuracy already built in. Yeah, give them the critical builds because they're gonna smack way harder. Same thing for some of the, you know, the higher dexterity units where, like, the higher luck units where they already have good accuracy and they have weaker dexterity stats. Yeah, give them the critical builds. So to me, I love that. They do have some other gloves on the Calc website. I haven't seen these in game yet though, but honestly, don't even invest in these. The only thing I see here is you essentially trade your magic stats for higher critical abilities or higher critical percentages. So I don't think it's a great trade-off. I'm really sticking with the Dark Gloves overall. And like I said, the aim build, the magic build obviously would slap pretty hard. You're talking a significant difference here of, like, what, 54 stats, 54 magic points. I think that is material. So yeah, if you're going for that build where you're only doing guaranteed hits, yeah, sure, go for the magic build. But I would be wary about how high that magic stat is. I haven't seen the upgrade percentages yet, but I'm getting, like, Platinum Rod flashbacks where, you know, you have to have some really lucky you know, investments to actually get that magic stat maxed with a bunch of extra hammers to do so. So just something to keep in mind. But that's him in a nutshell. Really interesting character. I've heard he's got a lot of lasting power because he does a lot of things really well and has a ton of flexibility, which I can obviously see. I'm excited to try him out more. I do have him. I'm currently in the process of building him. I am looking forward to seeing what kind of dark synergies he has with units like Dwayne and Kane. And yeah, all in all, I'm excited to have him here. Finally, we've been talking about him for months. And that concludes the review. I'll be doing one for Elsa Ray tomorrow, hopefully. But other than that, you know, feel free to throw some corrections, suggestions, experiences you already have, whatever you want to contribute. I always love reading the comments and responding to them. But other than that, in the meantime, good luck pulling for him if you'd like him, and look forward to doing another character review for you all. So enjoy the night, and I'll talk to you all soon.